Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines we're tracking for you this evening. The Sensex and the Nifty hit yet another record high as bulls maintain the momentum on the Lal Street. Mid-cap index scales a new peak for the 11th day running. The market cap of shares listed on the BSE crosses 400 lakh crore rupees for the first time. Wipro shares wobble after the surprise resignation of CEO Thierry Delaporte. Srinivas Pallia, who's been with the company for over 3 decades, will take over. Wipro's revenue growth contracted in each of the last 4 quarters. After stepping down as the CEO of Bandhan Bank, CS Ghosh says the decision was totally voluntary and personal. Also adds that the bank is looking for an external CEO, and if they don't find one in 3 months, they could appoint an internal candidate. Shares of Bandhan Bank down 6%. GST authorities claim alleged tax evasion in FY24 nearly doubled to over 2 lakh crore rupees. Sources say online gaming and casino industry, which is fighting the tax authorities in court, evaded taxes worth over 83,500 crore rupees last fiscal. That's an exclusive. The union government considers policy support for locally made semiconductor chips, but sources say there will be no restrictions on imports of chips to meet domestic demand. That's an exclusive as well. With nearly 4 million cars sold in FY24, passenger vehicle sales in India hit a record high. For the first time, SUVs account for 50% of overall car sales, as per the Federation of Automotive Dealers. There should not be a contest between states and the central government, says the Supreme Court, as it hears a petition by the Karnataka government seeking drought relief. The apex court stopped short of issuing a notice to the centre, asked both parties to find an amicable solution. U.S. Secretary of State Janet Yellen delivers a sharp message to China, says future discussions between both nations will focus on Beijing's need to shift its policy on industry and economy. Yellen discussed market-based reforms and addressed concerns over overcapacity in her talks with Chinese authorities. Israel pulls out most of its troops from southern Gaza, but the defense minister says the withdrawal is aimed at preparing for future operations. Conflicting reports from the ceasefire talks underway in Cairo, as Hamas officials deny claims of progress, saying Israel continues to reject their demands. A blame game between Russia and Ukraine after one of the 6 reactors at Europe's largest nuclear power plant is attacked. The International Atomic Energy Agency condemns the attacks and warns of a major nuclear accident. Non-communicable diseases are rising in India, and cancer leads the way. As per the Apollo Health of the Nation report, also finds a rise in mental health disorders, with 20% of people in the age group of 18 to 25 reporting signs of depression. Well, let's start with the day's market action. No Monday blues on the Lal Street. Well, let's start with the day's market action. No Monday blues on the Lal Street as bulls maintain the winning momentum. The Sensex and the Nifty hitting record highs in intraday trade, managing to hold on to most of those gains. Bank stocks did relatively underperform today after a strong start. The mid-cap index gaining for the 11th straight day, hitting fresh record high. So 152 points higher. That's the Nifty. The Sensex up by almost 500 points today. The Nifty Bank closing flat. Mid-cap also absolutely flat. Prashant is standing by now to take us through the market action. New records, new start of the week.
It was an out-and-out large-cap day today, with the Nifty making, of course, a new high. Actually, it was not just the Nifty. Bank Nifty made a new high. The mid-cap index made a new high as well. But, I mean, it was Nifty. And ex-banks actually did bulk of the heavy lifting. So on your screen, what happened to the index? 150-odd points higher. Nifty Bank, I mean, middle of the range. It gave up gains from the highest level. Mid-cap index was up. Small caps were absolutely flat. But mid and small caps, mid-cap specifically, had a big week, the last one. Now, autos participated and were the best performing index. So on the Nifty, you had Eicher, Maruti and Mahindra, which were the top 3 gainers. There were names like JSW Steel, NTPC, Reliance, old economy, right, which also did quite well. On the downside, Nestle was down, Apollo Hospitals pulled back a little bit, and Adani Ports, there were huge volumes and was down from the word go in the morning. Now, in the broader market, more down than up. But I have to say this, what was up still had much more volume as compared to what was down, even though the list on the way down was longer. I'll start with what was down. Bandhan, of course, a big cut. REC business update, markets taking some profits there. GE Shipping, there was Keynes, Newland, and there was Venus Pipes, which came up about 4.5-5% as well. These were the big volume-led drags today. On the way up, as I said, Overall, the list was shorter but longer list with volume. So Exide, huge gain on the tie-up with Hyundai and Kia. Voltas doing very well. Gas Authority up 5%. Cochin Shipyard, there was Naukri which participated. Nykaa doing very well. IIFL 13% on Friday, 5% today. Sundaram Finance, Lotus Laboratories, KEI, NRB Bearings, Eveready Industries, Godrej Industries, Premier Explosives, Sadbhav, and I can go on with a few more. All in all, a very good session is what you had.
Prashant, many thanks. Yes, very good start to the week. Crude oil prices, meanwhile, down after Israel announced withdrawal of troops from southern Gaza and began fresh talks of a potential ceasefire. Brent crude slipping nearly 1%, but still remains over the $90 per barrel mark. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia has hiked prices for all crude grades to Asia for the month of May after heavy oil supply tightening. Corporate stories, the big ones. Wipro shares down today after the surprise resignation of CEO Thierry Delaporte. Srinivas Pallia, who's been with Wipro for over 3 decades, will take over as the new CEO. Wipro's revenue growth has contracted in each of the last 4 quarters. Now, Rima is standing by with more on the winds of change at Wipro. Rima, for months now, one had heard of issues between Thierry Delaporte as well as the Wipro founders. And now, of course, Delaporte has exited, an insider at the helm, taking charge as CEO. What are the concerns the street has?
Thanks so much for that. Well, it comes in as a bit of a surprise. Wipro has announced the resignation of the CEO, Thierry Delaporte, with effect from 6th of April 2024. He will be replaced by Wipro veteran and insider Srinivas Pallia as the new CEO and managing director, effective immediately. That said, Thierry will stay on till the 31st of May to ensure a smooth transition, but he does step down before his 5-year term comes to an end in July 2025. Now, who is the new CEO, Srinivas Pallia? He is a Wipro veteran and an insider. He's been with the company since 1992, which means more than 3 decades. And in his tenure, he's held many leadership positions, including the president of Wipro's consumer business unit, global head of business application services, and most recently, he's been the CEO of the Americas 1 region, which is Wipro's largest geographic unit, contributing 31% to its revenues. Now, what's the street view on this? Well, for a change, Wipro has opted for an internal candidate. Remember, the previous 2 CEOs, Abidali Nemuchwala and Thierry Delaporte, were both external hires. Abidali Nemuchwala came from TCS. So Srinivas Pallia, being an insider, it gives him a head start compared to what any other external candidate would have had. And therefore, in that sense, it's a bit of a positive. But the company's had its fair share of CEO churn, and the company struggled under the various CEOs. And therefore, the street is going to be watching out for the turnaround strategy. Is there going to be a change in this strategy? For instance, will they continue to focus on consulting, which Thierry did? So that's going to be an important watch point. But the assumption is that the recovery is going to be gradual. That said, any new CEO, whether it's internal or an external, his job on hand will remain the same. One is revive growth. Now, Wipro's growth rate has faltered compared to that of the industry, not just in FY23, but even in the preceding years under the different CEOs. In fact, in FY24, in the first 3 quarters, the company has reported a negative revenue growth. So reviving growth, getting back to industry growth rate, the revival of Capco, which has been hit on account of the macro pressures, the discretionary spending coming down, is going to be very crucial. And also stemming attrition. The company has seen a spate of high-level, senior-level exits. This list is not exhaustive, but the recent 2, the most high-profile ones were the CFO, Chief Growth Officer, all stepping down in the last 6 months. Now, all eyes are going to be on the new CEO as he takes charge. In fact, CNBC-TV18 has accessed an email written by him, Srinivas Pallia, to his employees, and this is what he had to say. Our core purpose remains supporting our clients' success. I will be a relentless advocate, urging us to focus on execution, embrace bold ideas, and take calculated risks to propel us forward. Together, let's craft the next chapter in Wipro's story, building upon the strong foundation led by those who came before us and shaping the future of technology and business for generations to come.
Rima, many thanks for joining us. In fact, in January this year, I had spoken with Wipro Chairman Rishad Premji in Davos on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum about leadership at the IT company. Premji had said Wipro's team was aligned both with the vision of the promoters. Take a look at what he had to say in January. How confident do you feel about the ability of this leadership team to deliver the goods today?
No, I feel supremely confident, Shireen. I think we're doing the right things. We're on a journey of change. We have a strong, stable leadership team, and in an organization that is transforming and doing different things, you're always going to have some people that come in and out. And so that doesn't surprise me. That doesn't destabilize us. And we're incredibly excited and incredibly strong with the team we have and the team we believe in very, very clearly.
And alignment between the execution strategy of the management as well as the vision of the promoters?
Absolutely. There's full alignment between the journey we're on and the journey we're going on, and
so the report
don't believe otherwise.
The report suggesting that there is misalignment?
All I can tell you, Shireen, is that our CEO and our team has our full support.
Well, our CEO has our full support, but that was January and things have changed. Thierry Delaporte out of Wipro. Bandhan Bank founder Chandrasekhar Ghosh has said that he will step down as the managing director and CEO once he completes his tenure, which ends on the 9th of July. The bank's shares down 6% in trade today. In a conversation with CNBC-TV18's Witho Singh, Ghosh said the decision was completely voluntary and personal. Witho now joins us to take us through where this leaves Bandhan Bank. Witho, Chandrasekhar Ghosh is synonymous with the private lender. What do we make now of the journey for Bandhan Bank from here on? How are the markets reacting to this, and what next now from a leadership perspective?
After serving Bandhan Bank for almost a decade, Chandrasekhar Ghosh has decided to step down as the MD and CEO of the bank once his term ends in July. The move has come as a surprise because the board of Bandhan Bank had approved his reappointment for another 3 years just a few months back in November. While the extension was yet to be approved by the Reserve Bank of India, the retirement announcement is being seen as negative by the street. Why? Well, for starters, the bank has gone through a churn at the senior management level. We recently saw its retail banking head, its CFO exiting, and at least 4 to 5 external executives who are new to the bank joining in just the last year or so. So the timing of the resignation has raised concerns that it could add to the flux at the senior management level and in the process significantly alter business growth and profitability of the bank. Now, Bandhan Bank's asset quality remains a concern. Gross NPAs at more than 7%, annualized slippage ratio above 4% or more for at least the last 3 years, at a time when the rest of the industry has been able to achieve a turnaround. The bank is also in the middle of a forensic audit commissioned by the National Credit Guarantee Trustee for a significant portion of its portfolio under the government's credit guarantee scheme. So the street worries the exit may not bode well for the bank at this point. For now, the focus is going to be on a smooth succession process. As for Chandrasekhar Ghosh, he's going to move on to a larger strategic role at Bandhan Holding Company level. I spoke to him earlier in the day to ask about the timing and the reason for this retirement, and he said it has been in his mind for the last 2 years and it was purely a personal and voluntary move. Take a look.
I only taken couple of people who are senior level, who are in the captain level of that. So it is there, the ground will be very strong. These people are working with me the long time. And the mid-level, there is in people we are developed them in the last more than 1 year, 1 to 3 years. And the top level we have been taken now. I have also get the time in the next 3 months. I will be like to make it and then to develop further if something need on that. Bandhan is my baby. I cannot give the risk to Bandhan. I will be like to decide how my baby will be like to save. And accordingly, I'll be like to exit. If you see that this is my totally voluntarily personal decision.
Well, that's CS Ghosh there at Bandhan Bank stepping away as CEO. Speaking of leadership changes, Byju's-owned Akash Educational Services has appointed Deepak Mehrotra as its managing director and CEO. This comes 7 months after Akash's CEO and CFO resigned in September last year. Mehrotra was managing director of Ashirwad Pipes before his appointment and has also worked at Bharti Airtel and Coca-Cola. Now, since Byju's acquired Akash in 2021, the embattled edtech startup has said it's been using profits from Akash to hedge losses in its unsuccessful bets. So that's the latest as far as Byju's and Akash is concerned. On to CNBC-TV18 exclusive. GST authorities have claimed that the alleged tax evasion in FY24 nearly doubled to over 2 lakh crore rupees. Sources tell us that the online gaming and casino industry, which is fighting tax authorities in court, allegedly evaded taxes worth over 83,500 crore rupees last fiscal. Timsy standing by with the details. Timsy, so the GST authorities claim that evasion has almost doubled for FY24.
Well, that's right. Sources have told CNBC-TV18 that the DGGI, that is the premier agency to detect GST evasion, has detected about 6,074 cases involving over 2 lakh crore rupees of GST evasion in FY24, which is a 99% increase as compared to FY23, where 4,872 cases involving a duty evasion of over 1 lakh crore rupees was detected. On the terms of voluntary payments, in FY24, 26,598 crore rupees was a voluntary payment made by taxpayers as compared to 20,713 crore rupees in FY23, which is a 28.4% increase. DGGI has also arrested 147 masterminds in FY24 as compared to 92 in FY23. And when it comes to the sectoral analysis, online gaming and casino industry evaded the maximum GST, which was about 83,588 crore rupees, followed by co-insurance and reinsurance sector, where evasion of 16,305 crore rupees was detected, followed by secondment, that is import of manpower services, where evasion of 1,064 crore rupees was detected. Some of the other sectors where investigations with high evasion revealed that the other sectors are banking, financial services, insurance, pharmaceuticals, e-commerce operators. So let's see what is the future course of action for DGGI in FY25. Back to you.
Timsy, many thanks for joining us. Non-communicable diseases are rising in India and cancer is ahead, says Apollo's Health of the Nation report. The report draws inferences and insights from data based on the people engaged through the Apollo hospital system and the medical ecosystem at large. The report also highlights that there has been a rise in mental health disorders. Ekta standing by with the key highlights from the report. Not good news, Ekta, there specifically on cancer and its rise in India.
Absolutely. The burden of non-communicable diseases is rising in India, and it seems as though cancer is leading. The number of cancer cases in India is expected to increase significantly, reaching approximately 15.7 lakh cases by 2025, up from 13.9 lakh cases in 2020. Breast, cervical and ovarian cancers are the most prevalent amongst women in that order, while lung, mouth and prostate cancer are most common amongst men. Disturbingly, cancer diagnosis occurs at a younger age in India compared to other nations. For example, the median age for an Indian to get breast cancer is 52 years, while it is 63 in the US. And the median age for diagnosis of lung cancer is 59 in India, whereas it is 70 in the US and 75 in the UK. Colon cancer, once associated predominantly with older individuals, is now increasingly affecting younger people, with 30% of colon cancer cases at Apollo hospitals below the age of 50. One of the key reasons for drawbacks in India's fight against cancer is our poor screening rates, which is much lower compared to global standards, highlighting the urgent need for proactive measures in preventive healthcare. For example, in India, breast cancer screening is 1.9% versus 70% in China and 0.9% in India for cervical cancer versus 75% in China. Compounding these issues are disparities in healthcare guidelines, such as the PSA threshold for prostate cancer screening, which, according to experts, needs to be tailored specifically for the Indian demographic. Furthermore, the report underscores a rising mental health disorder, with a sharp increase of mental health conditions of those between 18 to 40 years. Depression is emerging as a significant concern amongst the younger population, with 1 in 5 people depressed within the age group of 18 to 25. Other key takeaways include chronic stress, especially seen amongst young adults and seniors, is adding to the increased incidences of hypertension and diabetes, with women being particularly vulnerable. Obesity, which is a risk for NCDs, has risen, with majority living with unhealthy waist-to-hip ratios and belly fat. The report also indicates that high blood pressure and pre-diabetes are becoming increasingly common, particularly amongst the younger demographic. Today, 66 out of 100 people are pre-hypertensive and 1 in 3 people have pre-diabetes. However, amidst these concerning statistics, the report emphasizes the importance of early screening and proper monitoring. Early detection of conditions such as breast cancer significantly improves survival rates, while regular health monitoring leads to tangible improvements in blood glucose, blood pressure, and body weight management.
Ekta, many thanks for joining us. Worrying statistics there, and this tells the story of the distance we need to cover when it comes to deepening and broad-basing our healthcare system. Time for us to head into a short break, but up next, Muzaffarnagar, India's Sugar Bowl, one of the constituencies to go to the polls in Phase 1 on the 19th of April. CNBC-TV18 travels to Western UP to find out what voters want. Car sales in FY24 hitting a record high of nearly 4 lakh units. That's not all. The shares of SUVs now account for 50% of the total passenger vehicle sales in India. All of this from data by the Federation of Automobile Leaders. Overall, retail sales have seen a growth of over 2% for March. Two-wheeler sales up over 5%. Three-wheeler sales up 17%. Commercial vehicles are still lagging behind, with sales contracting by 6%. Adani Total Energies has signed an MOU with MG Motor India to strengthen EV charging infrastructure. The collaboration will develop charging solutions for electric vehicles and value-added services for MG's EV customers. As for the deal, Adani Total will install 60 kilowatt chargers at upcoming MG dealerships. Ather Energy has launched its new family scooter, which will be priced around a lakh of rupees. The company's CEO Tarun Mehta told CNBC-TV18 they cannot afford to be aggressive with pricing due to the cut in subsidies for electric vehicles by the government. Take a look.
Downward pressure that it creates is every time there's a subsidy cut, you sign up for more losses on your journey. And when you have more losses, to balance it better, you can't get very aggressive with pricing. I think that's what keeps happening.
Right.
We were able to absorb a lot of the subsidy pullback last year, but there's not enough margin left to absorb more now. So we still did. I think we absorbed roughly half of it. But we passed on roughly, like on blended basis, I think we passed on half of the subsidy cut to the consumer. So prices have gone up by 5,000 rupees.
Tarun Mehta there of Ather Energy. On to a CNBC-TV18 exclusive. The union government is considering a policy mandate for procuring domestically made chips. However, sources tell us there will be no restrictions on imports of chips to meet domestic demand. Ashmit is standing by now with more details. Ashmit, so clearly an effort to try and boost domestic manufacturing, even though we're still about a year away from manufacturing getting off the ground.
Well, indeed, the Tata fab that we saw recently being commissioned, saw the groundbreaking in Dholera, that production is due to begin in December of 2026. Micron will begin in December 2024. But clearly, the thrust of the government is that it's looking to roll out the red carpet ahead of the production beginning at these facilities. What we understand is the options being considered right now are to ensure a policy mandate in favor of locally manufactured chips. So what that will essentially mean is that there will be no restrictions on imports of these chips, but there may be an incentive, there may be an added policy support for companies, for OEMs using these chips that are manufactured locally. This will maybe, in the shape of an incentive. This could be a policy mandate, a directive of sorts. These are various levers which the government is considering, but it is keen on supporting the local manufacturing, the local fabs, the local ATMP facilities, and in pursuit of that is looking to develop a policy framework that will help incentivize the production and therefore the consumption here. The long-term game, of course, that the government has in mind is that the production here locally will first meet the domestic demand and then be channeled towards exports. So that's the priority order the government is listing out. What shape and form this will take, I imagine the government will begin to get more clarity once we have the elections.
All right, Ashmit, many thanks for joining us. Speaking of the elections, Muzaffarnagar, a crucial political battleground in Western UP, is no stranger to polarization. The most recent episode was the riots in 2013, which saw over 60 people dead and 50,000 people being displaced. It caused the army to be deployed in the state for the first time in 20 years to maintain law and order. As part of our ongoing series, Election Exchange, Abhimanyu Sharma reports that with Muzaffarnagar being one of the first constituencies to go to the polls on the 19th of April, the BJP is promising infrastructure development and jobs to drum up support and battle anti-incumbency.
Popularly known as the Sugar Bowl of India, 40% of Muzaffarnagar's population is engaged in agriculture. According to Economic Survey's data, this city has the highest agricultural GDP in the state of Uttar Pradesh. However, despite all these achievements, many foreign and modern establishments are yet to invest in the Lok Sabha constituency of Muzaffarnagar. Sanjeev Balyan, the Minister of State for Animal Husbandry and two-time BJP MP from Muzaffarnagar, is promising to change this. The popular 51-year-old Jat leader is holding at least 50 meetings per day and is holding up a slew of promised development projects and ensuring employment opportunities to beat anti-incumbency.
91 नए प्रोजेक्ट का एमओयू साइन हुआ है मेरे रजिस्ट्री के लिए 8,500 करोड़ का इन्वेस्टमेंट है एक साल के अंदर 10,000 युवाओं को रोजगार मिलेगा फ्रेट कॉरिडोर मेरे यहाँ से गुजर रहा है कलकत्ता भी माल जाएगा मुंबई भी माल जाएगा हमने 55 डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स में नई कोऑपरेटिव का गठन किया गुजरात के मूल मॉडल पे काम करेंगे अब किसान एक फोन नंबर दबाएगा और डॉक्टर एम्बुलेंस लेके उसके घर पे होगा
Balyan is banking on the BJP government's performance on economic parameters, infrastructure development and job creation to push his message across. And many of the residents we spoke to say there has been a visible improvement in terms of railway infrastructure and electrification.
सड़क बढ़िया है, एजुकेशन बढ़िया है, पूरे मुजफ्फरनगर के आसपास पूरा रिंग रोड बना दिया और इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन ला रहे हैं और ट्रेन ला रहे हैं।
हमारा बहुत पुराना आज़ादी के बाद से रेलवे लाइन का दोहरीकरण का बहुत ज़बरदस्त मुद्दा था वो सबसे पहले आगे डॉक्टर संजीव बालियान ने पूरा किया मेट्रो अभी मेरठ तक आई है हम चाहते हैं कि जल्द से जल्द मुजफ्फरनगर तक प्रस्तावित हो
In February, the state administration had prepared a plan to attract investment worth rupees 7,800 crores, including the establishment of a food processing project aimed at generating thousands of jobs. Apart from swift establishment of the industry across the constituency, the electorate wants expansion of green cover and the extension of the proposed Delhi-Meerut metro line to Muzaffarnagar as part of its demand in the upcoming Lok Sabha election. The 8 sugar mills in the city are currently the most visible signs of industry, but here the endorsement is not as hearty. The latest grouse is that the fair and remunerative price for sugarcane has been fixed at 340 rupees per quintal by the centre and at a state-agreed price of 370 rupees per quintal. But this is still lower than the 391 rupees Punjab offers its farmers or the 386 rupees per quintal offered by Haryana.
गन्ने की फसल तो ऐसी डूबती हुई दिखाई दे रही है हमें पहले 10 रुपए की दवाई थी एक आज जीएसटी लग के वो 15 रुपए की होगी किसके बीच से जा रहा है किसान के बीच से जा रहा है
सब चीज़ों पर रेट बढ़े हुए लेकिन गन्ने पे गया 20 रुपए की तो ज़्यादा ही लागत बढ़ जा
The sitting MP is aware that this is a sore issue in his constituency, as is delayed payment by mills to farmers.
मैं हमेशा चाहता हूँ गन्ने के भाव बढ़े किसान की आवाज़ में मेरी आवाज़ मिलती है हमेशा जनपद में 8 शुगर मिल है मात्र 1 शुगर मिल का पेमेंट डिले उसका इलाज भी मैं इस चुनाव के बाद तुरंत कर दूंगा
Farmers are not the only group in the constituency who have problems they want the government to fix on priority. Local traders say taxes and tax-related compliance are a big burden.
सिस्टम जो है जीएसटी का बहुत डिफिकल्ट है और जैसा अभी 1 अप्रैल से ये कानून आ रहा है 45 दिन के में पेमेंट करना यो करना तो इसके लिए व्यापारी बहुत टेंशन में है
उद्योगपति इसलिए परेशान है कि उनसे हिस्सा मांगा जाता है महीना मांगा जाता है जीएसटी के नाम पर इतना उत्पीड़न है छोटे व्यापारी का जीएसटी का कहां से तू अकाउंटेंट रखेगा
Balyan, however, is confident that the BJP's track economic and farmer-friendly record will put these concerns to rest and quell any anti-incumbency sentiment to earn him a third term. In Muzaffarnagar, this is Abhimanyu Sharma for CNBC-TV18.
Well, that is the latest edition of Election Exchange. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. The news will continue right here on CNBC-TV18. Stay tuned. We have plenty more coming up.